Good morning, all of you, and welcome back after what I hope was a restful weekend. As you can tell, we don't have our whole school here. There were about 120 who could not come back. I think your teachers will be sympathetic, but not entirely so. So I would make sure you have your work done. Quick introduction here before you hear about some of the Meg Page and Bob Poole grants. Just a reminder. Mrs. Frew talked about the Poole grants some time ago, and I just would strongly encourage you to think about them. Poole grants were named after Bob Poole, who was a great teacher here and then a great conservationist. We started this many years ago, and we've had hundreds of students take Poole grants over the course of the history of that grant. The Meg Page grant is somewhat different, and just by way of quick introduction about it, Meg Page was a graduate in 1974. She was an incredibly talented, bright woman. And tragically, in the middle of her life, she came down with cancer. She battled it bravely. And in the course of that, she became absolutely determined and committed to finding ways that we could deliver better health care to people. She was involved in a number of boards, even as she was battling the illness. She was a remarkable lady. And after she died, a scholarship was set up, very much like the Poole grants, in which a Taft student could apply to receive a grant. And if you wanted to do anything in the area that has to do with health care, whether you wanted to intern in a doctor's office, whether you wanted to do research, whether you wanted to go to a conference. So it's a really remarkable opportunity, and it honors a woman of singular courage and commitment. So I'd encourage you to think about doing it. You learn a lot. You learn how to write an application essay, apply for a grant. If you're lucky enough to get funded either there or for the Poole, you would end up going off in the summer, going off to whatever project. It's a great way, I think, to follow the school's motto, to honor two wonderful graduates of the school. You'll hear more about it today, and tonight, Ms. Frew tells me that there will be a fair outside of the dining halls, is that right? During dinner, and there'll be some tables there, and students will describe some of what they've done. Unfortunately, Tommy and Sam will not be able to speak today. They are not back, or they're just getting back this morning, and they were going to talk about their travels in Cambodia. But unfortunately, we'll have to do that later. So with that said, as an introduction, I think I is up first, so let's welcome I. Yep.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, you're missing out a lot. Just kidding. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Boy. I'm a sophomore, class of 2016, and today I'm going to talk about my trip to Costa Rica this summer. I had the chance to volunteer in Costa Rica for a week, thanks to the Poole Grant Program. And I have to say, it was the most heart-moving, mind-altering, and life-changing week of my life. There was so much more to the experience than the time when I was actually in Costa Rica. Probably not contacting your dad for the whole time you apply for the grant, and then calling him and be like, "Dad, I'm going to a place halfway around the earth by myself. It's going to be a 3-day flight with 5 layovers," and hung up was not a good idea. Losing the only thing necessary for the trip, aka the check with all of the grant money, was also not a good idea. I remember it was the night before I went back home for summer, and I already stripped my bed, so I had to sleep on the couch in the common room of Mac House. And for the whole night, after I found out that I somehow managed to lose the check, I was bawling so loudly that Raisin, Mr. Clifford's dog from upstairs, started to hear me and bark at me. Anyway, after stomping over all of those obstacles, I finally got to go to Costa Rica. I was so excited about the program, as I expected to teach English and take care of the kids and all that. Nope. First day of volunteering totally crushed me. I mean, it doesn't take much for anything to crush me, but there were no Costa Rican kids whatsoever. There were some hot Costa Rican chicks hanging around, though. I'm not even kidding. I had to work with these things. I had to work with these 20 chickens, some of them half naked, running around. And our job was to scrape those moss and dirt off those tires and paint the tires white for the kids to have somewhere to sit if they ever want to hang out with those chickens. And I know. Trust me, I know. And so the second day got a little bit better. We painted rails and rocks. Not so fun, but helped the school a lot. Before the retouch, the school looked as ugly and gloomy as Hotchkiss. I know. Kids didn't even bother to hang out outside the classroom. We painted colorful animals on the rocks along the hallway. This is me zoning out per usual. And then we also painted metal slides and wings with the most colorful combo that we could come up with. Kids absolutely loved it, and even after that, the most passive, introverted kid hung out in the playground every day. This is a group of third graders playing soccer in the field for the first time after 3 years. And in the back, you can see the swings and the slides that we painted. And far over there in the corner, there's me walking a fifth grader to the slide, although it looks like the other way around. Okay, so after 2 days of intensely strange laboring, we got to teach English in several classes, and we also got to hang out with the kids. This is one of my favorite pictures from the trip. Although it's a little bit blurry, but it just shows how much I enjoy hanging out with the kids, as well as how much they enjoy hanging out with us, although we literally don't understand each other at all. The kids were all so cute and adorable. That's my gang. I play with them every day. But there was this special kid. I don't have his picture here with me, and I regret it so much. But there was that one kid that walked up to me and started to rant Chinese for half an hour straight. And I know I kind of look Chinese, but I'm from Vietnam. The kid was new to the school. He didn't look like the other kids. He looked Asian like me, with his tiny eyes and yellow skin. He was regarded as different, and his classmates called him Amarillo. For those of you who don't know Spanish like me and thinking it's a fancy and fabulous name, it's not. It means yellow in Spanish. The kids in class avoided hanging out with Amarillo because they were too scared to accept someone so different from them. But Amarillo tried, and he never stopped trying to fit in. He tried every recess, every lunch, every day. And he finally became their friend by simply ignoring the differences in race and background and teaching his friends to do the same thing. I looked back at myself and thought about how similar mine and Amarillo's situations were. We were both trying to fit in with a different community. For him, it's with the Costa Rican kids, and for me, it's with the US, with Taft, with you guys. But he was fearless, and he was not hesitant to reach out, while I was just hiding in my little Asian shell. I was overly aware of my differences, while Amarillo seemed like he didn't even know he was different from the other kids. And that was when I learned the most fundamental but often overlooked lesson. If we stop spotting the differences and start to find the similarities, the world would be a much better place. So, as the week went through, I picked up some useful Spanish and survived through small conversations with my superb body language skills, unlike the first day when I just answered C to every single question and received so many weird looks. I did things that I thought I would never be able to do, such as cleaning a chicken coop with 20 of these guys running around. I became best friends with program staffs who speak a language I totally have no clue about. This is the nanny who took care of us in the dorm. This is the bus driver who drove us to and from the primary school that we volunteered in every day, and he plays Lady Gaga every day at 6:30 in the morning. And this is my best friend. We clicked right along when he first picked me up at the airport, and he was like, "Como estás?" And I was just standing there without flinching. I was just smiling at him. And we are still friends until now. And before this, I just messaged him on Facebook, telling him about how nervous I was to give a speech to you guys. So I also learned to love rice and beans, a Costa Rican specialty, although I hated all kinds of beans before the trip. And most importantly, I learned to volunteer with all of my devotions, not expectations, and I learned that being yellow is, after all, not that bad. You've got these beautiful eyes, these silky dark hair, and you've got friends who are willing to love you no matter what you look like. So why hesitate? Why scared? Why shy? Preach the similarity, preach the task spirit, and preach the love. Thank you, and have an amazing day.
Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Claire Descamps and I'm a junior, and last year I received the page grant for prospective public health and medical students to work on a public health initiative in India for 2 weeks. I didn't go with a formal organized program, but rather went with my mom to Mumbai to train teachers at the YMCA Bombay. My mom is the national coordinator of a domestic program called CATCH, Coordinated Approach to Child Health, which is an obesity prevention and health promotion program found in 9,000 communities in the US. Trainers like my mom work with health and education agencies to provide professional development for staff in physical activity, health promotion, and nutrition education. The CATCH program was developed at the University of Texas School of Public Health 25 years ago and is currently the only obesity prevention program in America that is scientifically proven to show effective results in lowering participants' obesity rates while teaching lifelong skills and about making healthy choices. At a YMCA conference in New Jersey last year, my mom met Melvin Lewis, who is the director of the YMCA Bombay. Upon visiting some YMCA sites that are implementing CATCH in New Jersey, he suggested that he'd be very interested to implement a program like CATCH, and he believed it would make a difference in his centers. Mom and Melvin stayed in touch via email. When she originally suggested that we do the CATCH program, an obesity prevention program in India, a country with a well-known malnutrition problem, I thought she was crazy. I soon learned that obesity is a growing problem in many states in India. Although this growing trend has not reached the epidemic proportions wealthy countries like the US face, it is becoming more and more common in the middle class of India. Melvin also informed us that many of the children in the YMCA programs are not getting any exercise during the day, which leads to an abundance of energy and a short attention span. In addition, the children of the YMCA of Bombay serve are more prone to malnutrition than obesity. Melvin and my mother, with communication from the CATCH professors at the University of Texas Public Health, set out to bring CATCH to the YMCA of Bombay. When I submitted for the page grant, at the time it was still uncertain whether the project would move forward. The board of directors of the YMCA Bombay debated whether or not a US-based obesity prevention program could be modified to work for the children of their city. After many weeks, the approval was granted. My mom and I would have to obtain visas, book tickets, and get a plethora of shots. Finally, at the end of July, my trip was finalized. I'd be going for a week and a half at the end of August, which is the end of monsoon season. Even though Melvin and the weather reports warned us about the probable heavy rains and storms, we packed our rain boots and decided to go. I didn't fully comprehend that we were going until we were on our way to Newark, with my mother frantically worrying about contracting malaria, tuberculosis, or yellow fever next to me in traffic. Usually I would have planned to a T the sites we'd visit, the restaurants we would eat at, and the perfect way to get over the strange 9.5-hour time difference. But before I knew it, we were done checking in through security and on a 15-hour flight to India. This is me, my mom, and Melvin at the gateway to India, which is like 4 minutes from Chista's house. Once we landed, we knew we were in Mumbai. As Chista so aptly put it, you can just smell it. We were rushed through numerous and confusing checkpoints and hallways to come out into a rainy open area, waiting for Melvin to take us to our hotel. Once we found him, we drove for 2 hours in heavy traffic, arriving at our hotel around 11 p.m. I didn't know where we were staying, and Melvin insisted that we stay at the YMCA International House in central Mumbai. I don't know what I was expecting, but this was even more modest and rustic than I imagined. We had internet for 1 hour a day, limited and momentary electricity, and the only showers we could take were ones that involved the use of a bucket. I tried to see the bright side of things by opening the blinds to see what kind of view we had, only to discover there were people living on the roof right outside of our window. Needless to say, the curtains remained drawn for the rest of the trip. The next morning, after we ate a breakfast that can only be described as cornflakes with scalding milk poured over them, we were introduced to the YMCA staff and toured the training facility we'd be using the following day. We then were taken on a tour of YMCA Bombay schools and facilities, 8 locations throughout Mumbai. Our first visit was within walking distance, through the slums that surrounded our hotel. An experience I couldn't really say I was ready for. Visiting these different YMCAs, we learned of the programs that they were offering, such as typing and sewing classes for 60 rupees, which is a little under $1 American. The teachers explained to us the huge benefit these classes were to students who had no other money-making skills. Leaving the first YMCA branch, our guide told us we'd be next visiting a Balwadi, which is a preschool that is run by the government in economically weaker sections of the community. The one we'd be visiting was one of the poorest that the YMCA ran, right in the heart of the red light district of Mumbai. When we entered the Balwadi, the teachers explained to us how many, if not all, the children they cared for were the children of prostitutes, worked anywhere from 9 to 12 hours a day. There were about 25 children in the class, with only 5 of them being over the age of 7. The teachers had trouble getting the children to focus when they wanted to show us a teaching demonstration, with many kids just sitting and crying or refusing to participate at all. As I looked around at all the little kids sitting on the ground, I noticed they were eating the crumbs on the floor, the leftover pieces of rice, and the little bits of bread they had dropped during their lunch break. As I tried to rationalize that 3-year-olds eat things off the ground all the time, I noticed that even the 7 and 8-year-olds were doing it too. Their malnourishment was obvious. The next morning, after eating an unfulfilling breakfast of lentil stew, my mom and I went down to set up for the catch training that was scheduled later that day. Having been to trainings in the States, there are usually about 10 to 15 people for one trainer, and that trainer usually being my mom. There were 60 chairs set up in the room, with each one booked, with more people coming to stand. As I tried to calm her growing nerves, our translator arrived. As I said before, my mother usually does many trainings in the States, and participants are expected to arrive in sneakers or some sort of athletic wear. As women began filing in, we realized they were all wearing their fancy saris with tractionless sandals on the bottom. But regardless, I could see a look of continued worry growing on my mom's face, but regardless, we were ready to start the training. The basis of the catch activity curriculum is to give teachers strategies to keep students constantly moving, with all-inclusive games that promote physical activity, making sure no one stays out for too long. All-inclusive games make for a positive student experience, and the theory being that they will enjoy physical activity and become lifelong movers. Some of these games require equipment and plenty of spaces to run, a challenge because the YMCAs and the Balwadis had neither. An important part of the training from the public health perspective is doing a pre-test or survey with participants. This helps guide the strategies and becomes a baseline measure for post-training follow-up. We began by assessing the needs and wants of the teachers. The responses including desiring healthier options for the children, cleaner drinking water, and playtime when children could release their energy in the classroom. The teachers were split into groups to discuss ways that together we could address the problems they had identified: small spaces, no equipment, young and old children together, and a lack of healthy foods and clean water. They were very serious in their task, taking notes throughout their lengthy discussions. Melvin whispered to us on the sidelines with tender surprise that this was like no training they'd ever been to. Rarely were the teachers active participants tasked with sharing their opinions and expertise. Nobody had ever bothered to ask them, and they were excited and proud to share their thoughts. Throughout the morning, we focused on what teachers said they needed. Many stated they had no play equipment, so we taught them games to play that required things as simple as a piece of string or nothing at all. We played team-building activities that could be played with mixed age groups, but left even those serious faces smiling. Using scarves, strings, and paper, and just their hands, we demonstrated how these activities could be used in their classrooms. The teachers were excited to bring these games back to their school and to teach the kids about the importance of releasing their energy in a constructive way and contributing to their good health. Although the training was our main objective for working with the YMCA, we still had more to do. Our 4th day in India, we visited the Andheri Boys Home, which housed about 60 boys ages from 4 to 16. The boys in the home had to have their cases reviewed before they were accepted to live there, as the YMCA would assume their guardianship. The boys living there were the most desperate and destitute in the city. Although they are clothed and sheltered by the YMCA, the program doesn't provide for any activities outside of schooling. When we flew to India, we packed 4 suitcases, 1 for clothes, 1 for training equipment, and 2 full of soccer balls, basketballs, air pumps, and tennis balls for the boys' home. While the rest of the home was in school, we visited the 6-year-olds who'd finished school for the day. We played games with them for 2 hours while we tried to fix our directions so they wouldn't end up hitting each other, which happened about 4 times. They were grateful beyond belief when we brought them basketballs and soccer balls, and their caretakers told us that their last couple of basketball and soccer balls had either been punctured, punted, or accidentally run over. We were invited back to teach their summer camp staff to teach them about catch. The boys immediately began playing with their new toys, and we knew it was time to leave. My mom and I are planning to return to India as soon as we can. The university catch team is seeking federal grant funding to continue working with Catch in India on a modified catch nutrition program, and if successful, I hope I can participate. Melvin will be polling the training participants with a 6-month survey Catch provided to see how the teachers have incorporated the program into their curriculums. He reports that the teachers are enjoying the Catch and using the strategies we taught with regularity. I'm excited to go back, especially now that I'm ready for such an overwhelming city. It was a great experience, and I can't wait to do it again.
Hi, I'm Chista Rani, and over the summer I worked with a company called Promethean Power Systems. It's a technological company that initially originated in Boston but is now based in Mumbai, India. The company is primarily concerned with solar power technology, and the project I worked on during the summer was solar-powered vaccine refrigerators. I worked with two of my friends, both of whom are in college right now, and we basically conducted a market research where we analyzed the potential market for these refrigerators in India. The company focuses on the rural parts of India, particularly villages where we had the opportunity to visit numerous primary healthcare centers and assess the current condition of the vaccine cold chain path in rural India. What was interesting about this project was that I got to experience the business as well as the medical and scientific aspect of this project. I worked with engineers to help design this model, as well as met with several companies to figure out the financial aspect. The main aim of our project was to come up with a model that used solar power and a thermal battery to store energy using an intimate power supply. This project was confusing, and frankly, I had no clue what I was doing for the first few days. If you have any questions about the specifics of my project, or you couldn't understand what I said because of my accent, please feel free to email me. This video is basically an overview of what we did over the summer, and we were made to make it along with the complete business report at the end of our internship. Thank you.
Population of 1.6 billion people, India struggles to vaccinate every child in both the urban and rural spheres. The cold chain path of vaccines spread over the vast continent and aims to reach every citizen in every city and village. The cold chain system begins with the manufacturer, for example, the Serum Institute of India, and ends with the distribution of the vaccines at the primary healthcare center. Vaccines are transported with the help of carry boxes that are insulated with ice packs in order to preserve the potency of the vaccines. Several trucks are packed with these carry boxes in order to transport the vaccines to primary healthcare centers and hospitals. In villages, these carry boxes are moved by hand or by rickshaws.
Every primary healthcare center in India should have an ice-lined refrigerator to store the vaccines and a freezer to chill the ice packs. The vaccines must be maintained between a temperature of 2 to 8 degrees centigrade or risk being denatured. There are a multitude of safety protocols in place that help ensure that vaccine wastage is curbed and minimized. However, this is still a major concern in rural India. The power supply to rural parts in India is unpredictable and unreliable, mostly because of load shedding. The intermediate power supply affects the storage of vaccines at the primary healthcare centers. In order to counter electrical problems and loss of vaccine potency, companies are developing solar-powered vaccine chillers. This green technology aims to enhance the cold chain system of vaccines in rural India. However, this technology too has its limitations, as a rainy, cloudy day makes the solar power obsolete.
Here at Promethean Power Systems, we use innovative technology to eliminate problems involving refrigeration in India. Using alternative energy sources and unconventional thinking, we aim to create a product which will revolutionize the cold chain system. We have taken a solar-powered vaccine refrigerator, which has the ability to tap into the grid and have added a thermal battery to it. This hybrid system will run on solar energy and grid power, or both when available. When both sources are depleted, the thermal battery kicks in, maintaining the optimum temperature for the vaccines in the refrigerator. When all of the energy in the thermal battery is used, the battery is charged using solar energy and grid power. Using this technology, Promethean Power aims to change lives.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you all very much for your talks. It's amazing, and if you want to hear about more programs that kids did, you might have read about them in the Papyrus or in the Global Journal, but make sure you go tonight during dinner and you can check out even more programs. Thank you.